Here we go. UFC 315, the Fighter Draft Picks show. Sam and Joe back with you to look ahead to the card this weekend in Montreal. We do have UFC 315 coming from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, with 12 fights on the card. Two title fights, of course, in Belal Muhammad making the first defense of his welterweight title against Jack Della Maddalena, unbeaten so far in the UFC, and Valentina Shevchenko making the first defense of her second reign as flyweight champion again against the unbeaten so far in the UFC, Manon Fiorot. We've got some decent fights on the card. The legend that is Jose Aldo returns in that featured prelim, but we'll get stuck into it across the next half an hour or so with the main man, Joe Me the Money Harrison. How's it going, Joe?
Yeah, I'm going good, pal. We had a chat before this, how excited we are, and yeah, I'm actually all right for this one. There's not loads of top level stars, but a few interesting fights, a few that I've been studying a bit and getting my thoughts behind. I'll be watching this one, and hopefully there's a few surprising fights in there that keep the fans engaged. And these lackluster MMA cards that have been putting on recently change, and we get a couple of good fights. Is my hope for the weekend, Sam.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There's a lot of talk at the minute about the state of MMA, the state of UFC, really in particular. Some of the fight cards, some of the star quality, and all that. We had Eddie Hearn's comments the other week, which caused a bit of debate, let's be honest, on the Ariel show. I think he was fishing for something there, but it did cause a lot of debate over the quality of the cards, how many stars the UFC have, and all that. So it is interesting at the minute. And yeah, like you say, some of the cards maybe like a little bit of depth. Maybe we're just waiting for a couple of things to click into gear. Looks like we're potentially getting some more stuff. Dana was asked last night in the press conference about Taporia, an international fight week, and it does, as everyone's expected, seem that on this card, the result of this main event is going to affect the trajectory of both divisions, lightweight and welterweight. If Belal wins, we likely see Makhachev against Taporia next month at International Fight Week. If Maddalena wins, then we'd likely see Ilya against Charles Oliveira for the interim strap, potentially a vacant belt. We'll see. But I suppose a mega fight like will kind of kick us into gear maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, like you said, that's what I like about it. The main event, even though it's Belal Muhammad and he's not always the most interesting fighter to watch, the fight has a bit of story to it. There's meaning of it. It's a title fight anyway, so there's always meaning, but there's a bit more meaning. There's a lot of differences it can make, as you've covered there, Sam. So yeah, I think it's at least. Sounds horrendous, but it's making it watchable and adding a bit of excitement to the results, which is all you can ask for.
Yeah, a bit of spice is definitely needed. And I suppose a card like this, I've not been overly excited about this one this week. I'm struggling to get up for it a little bit. I was gutted at the news at the start of the week that Joel Alvarez was out, and I was looking forward to that fight with Benoit Saint-Denis, and they brought in Kyle Prepolek into that fight, who's formerly of the UFC, coming back in, but been on the regional scene in kind of Canada. So that was a bit of a blow to my excitement at the start of the week. So I really like Joel Alvarez. But I suppose looking at a card like this in Canada, there's a lot of Canadians on it, and I suppose there'll probably be more kind of North American Canadian excitement, a bit like a UK card, the pay-per-view we had last year, where there's some names that maybe you're not too familiar with if you're kind of a regional Canadian fan. If you're a regional UK fan, some of these lower end of the card fighters are ones that kind of you're following the story maybe a little bit more. So you can kind of give a pass when we're kind of moving territories like this.
Yeah, with you. Yeah, get it. So now let's get into it, Sam. Are we doing the draft? I think we can cover us for the last event we did.
Yeah, we can definitely do the draft on this one, can't we? Yeah, UFC 314 last time out. We had a draw, 3-3. It's been a bit of a frustrating time for the draft of late. We've had quite a few dropouts on some of these cards that's affected the result. And then a dead heat last time out, 3-3 on the cards last time, which was interesting. So looking for a clear winner this time out. So if you're unfamiliar with the show at this time, Joe gives us our rules meeting of what the fighter draft for these big cards means for us. So go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's the draft. Obviously, if you watch your other sports, same principle. We pick one fighter each. We have 5 rounds, so that means 5 fighters each at the end of it. We do a snake draft. So if you pick first, then you then pick second in the next round to make it a bit fairer. You obviously naturally you pick the heavier favourites. First, as it gets down, we normally like to challenge each other. We normally like to go head to head in one, sometimes against our own thoughts, just to make it a bit interesting. But it's a nice, simple one. We've had a close year. I think Sam's won up on the year. We were 3-3 last event, as Sam covered there. Let's get into it, pal.
Yeah, it's always a close call. Let's get into it then. But if you, before we do, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a like on Facebook, wherever you are watching. And look at this. I've even got some round graphics for us here, Joe. We're stepping up the game.
Brilliant. Round one. Sam, would you like you've done the graphics, Sam? I'm giving you the honours for all the hard work you put in.
For hard work typing out round one draft. Right, I'll go first. I was hoping you'd say that because I did mention a couple of moments ago that a fight I was looking forward to fell out. Joel Alvarez against Benoit Saint-Denis. I think Gamrot was touted as the man to come in last minute and replace Joel Alvarez on the card, but in the end, it didn't happen, and the odds on this one are huge. So I'm going for Benoit Saint-Denis to get back in the win column against Kal Prepelec of Canada, formerly of the UFC in the past, of course. But we'll start with Saint-Denis. Obviously, he was on a real hot streak, flying up those lightweight rankings until maybe they did overmatch him against Dustin Poirier. Back in March of last year, UFC 299, Dustin showing all his class, all his experience to get through, a rocky couple of minutes at the start, but then put away Saint-Denis in the second round, and then they put him up against Renato Moicano. A bit of a crossroads fight for both. Moicano absolutely tore him apart in that fight. Back in September in Paris, in of course Saint-Denis' backyard. So he had his back up against the wall, coming up against Joel Alvarez, who's was on a real tear of his own in the lightweight division. A real battle of Europe. A shame we couldn't maybe get that one, on a European card in France or in Spain or whatever, or even in the UK. But it was obviously the French aspect. I think they put Saint-Denis on this card, and he's coming up now against Canadian Kal Prepelec, who, as I mentioned, has been in the UFC before. His overall pro record's 18-8, but in the UFC went 0-2. A few years back. He's been on the regional scene. It was back in 2019 when he had his UFC run, lost 2 unanimous decisions. The last one's Austin Hubbard. He's been on the regional scene since. He's picked up a decent record there. He said he's been struggling for fights. Was due to fight this weekend in Canada, hence how he's got this UFC call up. But there are levels to the game, and Saint-Denis, for me, it's a good opportunity for him to get back in the win column. The odds are huge. You're not going to find much of a betting angle on this one. I think there's not even many markets available for this one. But Saint-Denis to come out, the God of War, and get himself back in the win column. Probably didn't need that over explanation, but there we go. BFD to get the win.
Like it. My pick next, Sam. Yeah, you've gone high odds. I don't think I'm looking down the cards, and I'm trying to, because you've gone a bank. I'm trying to think of a bank myself, and I'm looking. I don't think there's too many. There's a lot of close fights. I think there's a lot of well-leveled fights in this one. But I'm gonna go in the main event. I'm keeping it exciting for the viewers. I'm gonna go the legend himself. Jose Aldo was my first round pick. I'm not letting you take him. I think he's going to win. He's against Ayman Zahabi. Faraz Zahabi, the famous coach's brother. Ayman 12-2 in the UFC, but he's 37. So the age difference is non-existent. Aldo's 38. Obviously, Aldo's had about 30 more fights than him, so that does make a little difference. But experience also does kill. And I think Aldo will have too much. Former champion, absolute animal of a man. I think there's a way to beat Aldo, and that's get him on the back foot. Don't let him get ahead and pressure him into that fence and keep at him. I don't think Ayman Zahabi is the man to do that, Sam. So simply Jose Aldo. I think he gets a finish here, and we have one more tiny little run of the Aldo coming back. We'll have a few Conor McGregor tweets. We'll have a few bit of this, and I think he's just a fantastic fighter, legend of the sport, the king of Rio gets his win against Ayman Zahabi in Canada.
Yeah, like it. I hope so. Anyway, it'd be good to see Jose get one back. I think he's had a bit of a rough ride of like a couple of frustrating decisions. So yeah, it'd be good to see Aldo back in the win column, and it is back to you for round 2.
Back to me, and I'm gonna go. If any of the viewers are big into sort of shows like this, I'm calling him the bettors' favourite here, the bettors' underdog, who all the bettors are going with on different ones, and I'm following them. His name's Charles Radke. I know everyone. He's somehow started off as a underdog on the card, as an underdog in the fight, and he slowly rose up, and I think he's now becoming favourite because he's been pumped by all the bettors out there and all the Twitter fans and know it all. So Charles Radke, great fighter, knockout power against Mike Malott. Malot's one of them. They've raved about his potential for years. He's never quite had that impressive one. He gets submissions, but he's not beat anyone. He's lost to a couple of years back. Who was it again? Apologies. He's beat Mickey Gall. He's beat Adam Fugit, Johan Linese. He's beat Trevin Giles, Neil Magny. I apologise. I couldn't remember. I've just had to check there. He's lost to Neil Magny. This is an old Neil Magny. This is a 2024 Neil Magny. I don't think he's as good as we all think. He's not been very active in the UFC. Charles Radke, 10-4, a year older, but I actually don't mind him. He's had first round TKO of Matthew Semmelsberger. He's beat Gilbert Urbina. So similar levels. His major loss was to Carlos Prates, who we've seen obviously fight Ian Gary a week or two back and just lose, but an incredible fighter himself. And I think Radke's going to have too much. Betting underdog, obviously a year older, a worse record on paper, but I think he's probably fought the better fighters, and he's had some great wins. He's had some good wins. I'm not saying great. He's had some good wins in the UFC as well.
Yeah, like it. That was going to be my next round pick. I do fancy him against Malott. As you said, that Magny one was the worrying one. We kind of was winning that fight, and then really gassed out in the third, and Magny came on and got the stoppage, and then. Yeah, Radke's just that guy, and he's just a bit of a throwback. I think he called himself the Jorge Masvidal of his generation this week in the media. I think he's kind of like the welterweight Justin Gaethje, he could be anyway. In the next kind of year or so, a guy that's going to come to fight. He's in a good camp as well with Belal and Yair Rodriguez and Bahamondes and all those guys. He's got that style, and he's got the talk as well. So I think we'll get a viral moment on the mic if he wants to get his hand raised on his debut, wasn't it? Again, he was in Australia, I think, for his debut, when he came out and said all sorts on the mic when he won about the Australian fans. And we can't repeat it, but go and search out that one. But yeah, I like that pick. For me then, round two, I think I'm going to go with a guy that we followed a little bit. Got a mixed record in the UFC. Fights out of the UK, despite his nationality lying elsewhere in Lithuania. I'm going to go for Modestas Bukauskas to get a win here on the cards. An exciting fighter, coming back in the UFC on this second run is looking good. He got a win last time out against Rafael Chiera in the first round stoppage. He beat Martin Petrino before then subbing the third round in Manchester last year when we were in the arena there for those title fights. Lost to Vito Petrino before that, but has got a couple of other good wins in the UK. Fought in Cage Warriors, of course, the light heavyweight champion over there in Cage Warriors. And yeah, he's just a great fighter, great to watch. And Ion Cutelabra, who he's up against this weekend, so also good to watch. Also on a little bit of a resurgence himself. He's got a few more fights in the UFC. And he's 8-9 in the UFC. He got a draw in there as well. He beat Adil Aslan last time out in the first round, and Urban Aslan before that. But he can be knocked out. He can be stopped. Cutelabra, he comes forward. He's one of those guys. He's either going to win it in style or lose it in style. And I think at this stage of his career, I think Bukauskas has just got that right amount of momentum and experience now to not kind of get drawn in. And I think he can put on an impressive showing this weekend. So I've got Modestas Bukauskas to get another win inside the UFC octagon this weekend.
Like it, Sam. It's back to you. Round three.
Round three. Where do we go? I think I'm going to go for. We've kind of gone against the Canadians so far on the card, so I'm going to get a win for Canada right now. It's on the prelims. Yasmin Jastovicius to get a win against Jessica Andrade. Andrade, that gatekeeper now, in the UFC. Really, even though she's only 33. She is one of those now that she's had that many fights. This will be her quick maths 29th octagon walk this weekend, but her form of late isn't great. She's only won 2 of her last 6. She was defeated by Natalia Silva, really outboxed by Natalia Silva last time out. She has been submitted a couple of times. Erin Blanchfield got Tatiana Suarez as well. She was knocked out by Zhao Nan as well. So, again, she's kind of one at this stage of her career. She is either coming to knock you out or she's going to end up being stopped. And I just think Yasmin is going to be a bit too much this weekend. She's great on the ground. She's got a couple of UFC submissions, and I think if this fight hits the floor, I think Yasmin can get the sub and get the win. She beat Mayra Bueno Silva last time out. Before that, Ariana Lipski de Silva subbed her in the third round. She got a couple of others. She loves the dash. Got a couple of dash choke submissions in the UFC so far. So I'm going for Yasmin to get one up submission win of Jessica Andrade.
Like it, pal. I might have to take an easy one, Sam, because I've like I said, I've got two fun ones to finish off. I'm gonna take a banker that I think we've both missed so far, in my opinion. And that's Nahavo Sterling. He's against Ivan Erslan. Nahavo, I'm probably butchering that name as I always do. He's 6-0. Had his first fight in the UFC in his last fight, and he beat Chuko Tokos, which probably many of you don't know. Don't make much difference, but Ivan Erslan, I think, just not that good. He lost to Ion Cutelaba in his first fight in the UFC. He's that bit older, that bit. I think Naharvo, 6'3". He's got the weight. He's got a massive reach advantage of quick maths. That is 6 inches. So I think Naharvo will have the reach, have the size, and he's younger, got the potential on his side. Like I said, not lost yet. He's not had that big loss that dints the confidence at that level or test the chin. I think he'll bully his way through this one. And Naharvo Sterling, easy pick for me, Sam. And I think I've got a banker right there.
Yeah, I like that pick. Yeah, he should win. Obviously, he's a contender series guy, wasn't he? Yeah, looked decent-ish in his first one, but I think there's definitely a lot of potential there for Navajo Sterling. Round 4.
Back to me. I'm going champ fights only to finish off, Sam, to make it interesting. And I'm finishing off. I'm going Valentina Shevchenko. I'm going against the bookies again here. Valentina, obviously newly crowned champion, but legend of the division, the greatest flyweight in the women's division. She made a mistake against Grasso. She got submitted when she lost the championship belt. She obviously went and fought her again, got the win. But she's against Manon Fiorot, who I think, in my opinion, has got a fantastic record. It's 12-1 for the women's division. Is brilliant. I don't think she likes a decision. She last 2 fights against Rose and Erin Blanchfield, both to decisions. I don't think you're outpointing Valentina. I think she's too smart. She's been at these champ fights for too long. She's obviously probably doesn't have that knockout power, that quick kick athleticism that she had in a younger career, but she's improved on her grappling. She improved her overall game. And I think Valentina is just too smart. I don't think the run ends here, Sam. Everything's telling the people that the run ends here and we say goodbye to a legend in the champ division. But I think she holds on. And I think she has one last incredibly impressive performance before she waves goodbye, like Nunes, and says, you know what, I've had a great career. And I think this is the one. It's the one they're majorly doubting her for. It's the one who she thinks it's time. The new champion's coming through. Not today, Sam. Not today. Well, not tomorrow, actually. I'll rephrase that. Not tomorrow. Valentina Shevchenko beats Manon Fiorot.
I like it, but do you know what? I think I might just take one. I like champ fights only, so let's go head to head. I want to go for Manon Fiorot to get the win. I think she's kind of built the right way in her career so far in the UFC. As you said, she's got a good record. She's undefeated so far in the organization. She's kind of built nicely. You know, those last 2 against Rose, against Erin Blanchfield, I think when you look maybe at Jack Della Maddalena in the main event, you know, that he's kind of maybe jumped the queue a little bit due to circumstance, due to Shavkat's injury and, you know, things like that have kind of maybe elevated him into maybe an earlier shot than you would expect. But I think she's done it the right way. You know, Rose and Blanchfield, who was in a real, you know, good vein of form, before that fight, it's kind of put her in the right spot for this. I was having a look at this, and obviously Shevchenko to win the title back against Grasso, you know, heavily wrestled in that last fight. She had a control time of over 16 minutes. I think she had some like 6 takedowns that she managed to get on Grasso and really just outwilled her in that final fight. And for me, it just felt like that was her mission. That was her one thing, just to get this belt back. It meant that much to her. Like I said, she made the mistake. She had to rectify it. But I think she has slowed down a little bit in the striking. And I know there's not a massive age gap between these two. It's not as if, you know, for Rose, this 20-odd-year-old, she's in her mid-30s as well. But with much less miles on the clock, she is faster in my opinion in the striking department. And I think her wrestling's been tested to a decent enough level so far, that she can handle Shevchenko with her takedown defense in this way. I was having a look, and I think she in so far in her UFC career, there's been something like 16 takedown attempts. She was against some decentish wrestlers, and she's only been taken down once, and she was straight back up. So she's yet to really be kind of held down and really out grappled so far in the UFC. She's been able to keep things standing, and she's looked pretty devastating in some of her fights. She's really good striking. Both really good strikers, these two. But I think I'm just thinking that it might be time for a new champion. Valentina's put so much into that trilogy that she's going to come out on the other side, and she's going to meet someone who is ferocious, who is hungry, who is what Grasso was, 2 fights ago. She seemed to just kind of squeeze the juice out of Grasso by that third fight. But if you're raw, she's going to be there. She's going to be vicious. She's going to come forward, and I think she gets it done. Man on for raw and the new for me in the co-main event.
Like it, Sam, it's back to you. Round 5, this is it. I think it's a close one.
Yeah, I think we are heading head to head here. It's nice and tight. And you know what? You said you're going champ fights only, so I'm going to get mine in. I'm going to go for Belal Muhammad to retain. Part of me wants to pick Jack. Part of me does want to pick Jack. And I kind of liked him more as the week goes on. He seems to have got, I don't know, the weight cut or what, but the thing he said about Ian Gary last night at the press conference, kind of just shows he's got a little bit more as the week's gone on. You're kind of seeing this different Jack Della, but there is a big but, isn't there? That Belal Muhammad, he's not been beaten in 6 years. He's on this 10-fight win streak that saw him claim the title in dominating fashion. Against Leon Edwards in the early hours when we were there, bleary-eyed in Manchester. That's etched on the brain for us now. We can't forget that performance from Belal that night in the early hours in Manchester. And so, I can't forget it. And his run to the belt, was tough. Luque, Brady knocking Brady out. We just seen what Brady's done to Leon. Gilbert Burns, the performance against Leon, and it just feels as there's still a little bit more to come from Belal Muhammad in this title reign. I think it's gonna take someone. I don't know, maybe a Shavkat, maybe even what Ian Gary's shown with his tactical nous in the last couple of fights. Maybe it's going to take something a little bit different. I think this comes maybe slightly too early for Jack, and I think that Belal gets it done, and then we get what we want. Makhachev against Topuria. Makhachev stays down at 155. We get that International Fight Week mega fight next month. So I'm willing Belal to win just this once, and I think he gets it done against Jack.
Okay, I'll stick to my word, Sam. I'm going to come up with an argument here for JDM. If we look in the past, in my opinion, Belal's not. He's all right. He fantastic fight against Leon. It was a closer fight than everyone thinks. Belal clearly won, but Leon had his moments, and I think a hungrier, more active fighter, and means active in terms of in-ring throwing punches, throwing kicks. You can keep Belal away. I think there's areas where Belal can be beat. I think he'll struggle to knock him clean out. Obviously, he's been against some good level strikers, but I think he out grapples the grapplers Belal. There is an entrance there for a great striker like JDM to get in and have a really impressive performance, in my opinion, because you saw little bits with Leon. As we said going into the fight with Leon, you get this slow. He seems to not have this fire inside of his belly, like he wants to go, and he goes and he does everything he can. Obviously, we did see that when he knocked out Usman, but the rest of the fight, it was this where he just stays steady and tries to pick apart JDM's not going to leave this to chance. I think he's going to go in there, give it his all. I think he's got unbelievable striking, and I think he can get Belal, outpoint Belal. Belal's not, he's got high activity, excellent grappler, but he's not, I don't think he's one of them where I can't see an avenue where, like Khabib, I couldn't see anyone beating Khabib. Same as until the Volkanovski fight versus Makhachev. Makhachev's like, where are you going to get this man? Belal not as good at the striking. He's got a solid jab, but I think JDM's is better. I think JDM's going to offer some things in attack that the Belal's not seen in a while. And I think that's where he outpoints him or even catches him, gets a TKO here. So JDM for me, Sam, I'm going to go with him. I would have picked Belal as the smart pick, but you know what? It will be interesting. It will be good to see a different fighter like JDM get in and get the championship fight. It probably brings a bit of life back to the division after some of Leon's, like you said, underwhelming, he beat Colby and that, but it's been a steady couple of years in that division, and I do love Leon. I hate saying that. Belal's not an exciting champion. You're not tuning into Belal. I think if JDM goes on a run here, we're tuning in to watch JDM. We're tuning in to watch JDM versus Ian Gary. JDM gets this one, so.
Like it, interesting fight, and it is going to be fascinating to see. Those kind of early couple of rounds, and like you said, that kind of Volkanovski one is it's a good example, isn't it? It's where can Belal implement his game for the kind of full 5 rounds. We've seen it in so many fights recently. Ankalaev against Pereira, those kind of fights where, and obviously you got Merab. Can you break that rhythm that some of these guys bring? Hopefully. And it would be interesting as well, because I was listening to something the other day. I can't remember what it was, who it was, but the welterweight division, for the stature, unlike maybe lightweight, to say that these two divisions are jam packed with kind of talent, it kind of does go under the radar a little bit. We have had Belal, like you said, Leon got the belt, but wasn't. He's not the most exciting kind of fighter. Before that, I know we had some interesting fights with Usman, but he was more of a wrestler. And for quite some time, really, the 170-pound division, it's not had that maybe fire that you would expect to say. That it does have so many good athletes, and the fact that so many adult males walk around that kind of weight, 170, 155. It's you would expect maybe to have a few more out and out killers in there at the top end of the division. So maybe a Jack Della winning would kind of open that up.
I'm with you. I think we need to see an interesting fight. Like I said, Leon's fights versus Colby. The second Usman fight were close, but did enough. And then obviously a really rubbish fight if you're a fan of Leon versus Belal. Belal's not the most interesting fighter we've ever watched either. And we've got killer after killer after killer stacking up, waiting for their chance. I think there's about 3 people at the moment in the division saying I'm not fighting anyone unless it's a title fight. So like I said, similar to lightweight, they're all stacked up. They're all waiting now because it's been slow. Leon wasn't too active. We're waiting for it all to explode. We're waiting for these big high level matchups, and let's see him get at it now. So yeah, I'm hoping for a good fight. I'm hoping Jack puts on a good performance at a minimum, makes it interesting, and like I said, breathes a load of fire into this division. It's simmering. Compare it to a chef. It's simmering. It's waiting to go, and you're just waiting for the division to light up and it be the number 1 division again. So yeah, let's see, Sam.
Indeed, we shall see. Let's just go through our teams one more time. Now they are locked in. Joe, give us your fighting 5 for the draft.
I've not wrote them down here, so I'll have to let me just load up the fights once again. In the first round, I picked Jose Aldo to beat Ayman Zahabi. In the second round, I believe I picked Charles Radke, the bettor's favourite pick of the week. I've called it. If you look at any other sites, he's the one that they're all going with to beat Mike Malott. In the third round, I picked Nahavo Sterling 6-0 to beat Ivan Erslan. Just a banker, in my opinion. Go get myself an easy win so some of these underdogs can come off. In the fourth round, I've picked Valentina Shevchenko to keep hold of the title. And in the fifth round, I've gone JDM to breathe a life into the welterweight division and set up some of the most interesting fights we've seen in a couple of years.
My team of 5, I went with Benoit Saint-Denis to get a win. Obviously, his fight's fallen out. In comes Cal Prepperneck for his second UFC run, but Benoit should deal with that one, in my opinion, pretty easily. Modestas Bukauskas was my second round pick, in good form in the UFC of late. Interesting fight, a bit of a pick on with Ion Peter Labra, but Modestas to get it done. Yasmin Jasdavicius to get a win over Jessica Andrade, as well was my third round pick. One for the Canadians. Manon Fiorot, my fourth round pick, and the new, just thinks she can out edge Valentina. And I've gone with Belal to remain champion, get that first defense under his belt in a tough fight against Jack Della, but I think the pace of Belal and the grappling might just be a little bit too much at this stage. So there we go. 5 picks each locked in for this UFC 315 fighter draft. Hopefully we get a clear winner. Hopefully there's everyone makes it to the octagon and we don't have any more dropouts, as is blighted some of our recent draft shows of late. But there we go. Joe, thanks very much for joining us as ever, and we shall be back next time.
See you soon.